Welcome back to the channel Valuable Coins HD. Fellow coin enthusiasts. If you're new here, make sure to hit that subscribe button and join our coin collecting journey. Today, we're diving into a particular dime that's made a big splash in the world of numismatics, the 1965 US dime. On the surface, it may look like just another dime you could find in your pocket change, but this coin holds a secret, and a potentially huge value that will have any collector's heart racing. Let's get into what makes the 1965 dime so special and why it could be worth way more than its face value. Let's start with the key features of the 1965 dime. The obverse side of the coin features the famous portrait of Franklin D. Roosevelt, the 32nd President of the United States. Roosevelt's image has been on the dime since 1946, shortly after his passing, as a tribute to his leadership during the Great Depression and World War II. Surrounding Roosevelt's bust, you'll find the inscriptions, "Liberty, in God We Trust," and the year, 1965. The reverse side features a torch, an olive branch, and an oak branch, symbolizing freedom, peace, and strength. These are the main features you'll see on any regular 1965 dime. So, what makes the 1965 dime unique? Well, as many coin collectors will tell you, it's all about what you don't see at first glance. The 1965 dime was part of a series of coins produced during a period of transition in the U.S. Mint. The U.S. government had just started to change the way coins were made in 1965, primarily due to a shortage of silver. Traditionally, dimes were made of 90% silver, but in 1965, they were minted with a copper-nickel composition, containing no silver at all. The result? A significant shift in the way the coin was struck, and some unique errors that collectors are still seeking out today. Now, let's talk about the errors you should keep an eye out for. While most 1965 dimes are just regular copper-nickel coins, there are certain rare ones that were mistakenly struck with silver. Yes, you read that right. A small number of 1965 dimes were accidentally made with the same silver composition as the previous years. This is a huge deal for collectors, as these coins are incredibly rare and highly sought after. The error can happen when a 90% silver planchet, the disc of metal that gets struck with the design, is mistakenly mixed in with the copper-nickel planchets. This type of error can lead to a 1965 dime that appears almost identical to a regular dime, but the weight and appearance will tell you that it's actually made of silver. Silver 1965 dimes are sometimes referred to as the silver dime or 1965 silver dime error. This is a coin that could make any collector's collection shine. In addition to the silver planchet error, there's also the off-center strike error, which can happen when the coin isn't properly aligned during the minting process. The result is a coin where part of the design, or even the edge of the coin, is cut off, leaving a striking and sometimes dramatic misalignment. Off-center strikes can make for a very visually unique coin, and collectors go wild over these variations. Also, be on the lookout for die cracks, which occur when the metal tool used to stamp the design into the coin, begins to wear out or develop cracks. These cracks can leave raised lines on the coin's surface, sometimes running through the design or around the edge. While these cracks don't necessarily make the coin as valuable as the silver planchet error or off-center strikes, they do add character and uniqueness to the coin, which collectors find appealing. So, how can you spot one of these valuable 1965 dimes? The first thing to do is inspect the weight of the coin. Regular 1965 dimes made of copper-nickel weigh about 2.27 grams, but if you find one that weighs more, closer to the weight of a silver coin, which is about 2.5 grams, then you may have stumbled upon one of the rare silver-dated dimes. This is a key sign that you're holding onto something special. Next, examine the appearance of the coin. A regular copper-nickel 1965 dime has a slightly different color and shine compared to a silver coin. The silver version will have a distinct white sheen, while the copper-nickel version has a more muted, slightly golden tone. If you think you might have a silver version, look closely at the edge of the coin as well. A silver 1965 dime will show a lighter, brighter edge compared to a regular dime, which will have a darker, coppery edge. Lastly, keep an eye out for off-center strikes and die cracks. While these errors are less common, they can make the coin even more valuable, so take the time to check if the design appears misaligned or if any cracks are visible on the surface. Now, let's talk about the value of the 1965 dime. If you have a regular 1965 dime, it's worth, well, 5 cents, no surprise there. But when you start factoring in the errors, especially the silver planchet error, the value can jump dramatically. A regular 1965 dime with no errors isn't worth much more than its face value, but a silver 1965 dime error can be worth anywhere from $3,600 to $45,000. That's right, a dime that was worth just 10 cents in circulation could be worth tens of thousands of dollars if it contains the right error. Before we wrap up, I want to hear from you. Have you ever found a rare coin in your collection, or perhaps you've come across a 1965 dime that you think might be valuable? Let us know in the comments. And if you haven't yet checked your spare change for rare finds, you might want to take a second look next time. Who knows what treasures are hiding out there? Today, we're going to talk about a coin that may look ordinary at first glance, but could actually be hiding an incredible value, the 1975 United States dime. That's right, we're focusing on this seemingly simple dime that's packed with history, and the possibility of becoming a rare and valuable find. Let's start by looking at the key features of the 1975 dime. The front of the coin, known as the obverse, features a detailed portrait of Franklin D. Roosevelt, the 32nd President of the United States. Roosevelt's face has been on the dime since 1946 as a tribute to his leadership, especially through the Great Depression and World War II. Surrounding his portrait, you'll see the words, "Liberty, in God we trust," and, of course, the year, 1975. The reverse side, or the back of the coin, is just as iconic. It features a torch, an olive branch, and an oak branch, a symbol of liberty, peace, and strength. These elements have remained a staple of the dime since 1946 as well. While these features might seem standard, the story behind the 1975 dime is where things get interesting. Now, let's talk about the errors and special features that can make this coin worth so much more than you might expect. Most 1975 dimes are part of the regular copper-nickel series, but there are certain errors that make this coin more valuable. The most significant error to look out for is the double die error. A double die error occurs when the coin is struck multiple times, with a slight misalignment between the first and second strikes. This causes certain parts of the design to appear doubled or blurry, most commonly seen in the date and the word "Liberty." So, if you're examining a 1975 dime and you notice that the date looks a bit more spread out, or the letters in "Liberty" appear to have a double image, you may have found a valuable double die error. These types of errors are extremely sought after by collectors and can make the coin worth a lot more than just its face value. Another important error to be aware of is the off-center strike. Off-center strikes happen when the die used to strike the coin doesn't align properly with the coin's planchet. The result is that part of the coin's design gets cut off, leaving it with a noticeable misalignment. This can make the coin look quite unique, and certain off-center strikes, particularly those with extreme shifts, can fetch a high price on the market. Also, let's not forget about die cracks and die clashes. These occur when the die itself starts to wear down or develop cracks, causing the design to imprint unevenly on the coin. While these types of errors are less valuable than double die errors or off-center strikes, they still contribute to the coin's uniqueness, and many collectors appreciate the character they add to a piece. So, how do you spot one of these valuable 1975 dimes? The first step is to look closely at the date and the word "Liberty" on the obverse side of the coin. Use a magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe to inspect these areas carefully. If the date appears blurry or doubled, you've likely found a double die error. The next thing to check for is the alignment of the coin. Look at the design on both the front and back of the coin. Are the images centered or slightly off to one side? If they're off-center, then you might have an off-center strike error on your hands. Be sure to examine the coin's edges for signs of misalignment or any unusual wear, as this can give you a clue as to its rarity. when you're examining the coin, you should also check for die cracks or die clashes. If you spot any raised lines or cracks running through the design, especially near the rim or around the portrait of Roosevelt, that could indicate a die crack error. These types of coins might not be as valuable as some other errors, but they certainly stand out and add a distinctive character to the coin. So, you might be wondering, why is the 1975 dime valuable? While most 1975 dimes are worth only face value, 5 cents, the rare errors we've discussed can cause the price to skyrocket. The key here is that these errors are not common, and when they're found, they can be highly sought after by collectors. Coins with double die errors, especially those with doubled dates or lettering, are very much in demand. A coin with an off-center strike or a dramatic die crack can also draw attention in the market. The rarity and unique nature of these errors make the 1975 dime much more valuable. Coins in perfect condition without errors might be worth only a few cents more than their face value, but when you find a coin with an error like a double die or off-center strike, the value can increase dramatically. In fact, a 1975 dime with these types of errors could be worth anywhere from $3,400 to $47,000. That's right. A simple dime that most people would overlook could potentially be worth thousands of dollars, depending on the error and condition. Before we wrap up, I want to hear from you. Have you ever come across a rare coin or an error that turned out to be worth a lot more than you thought? Or have you spotted a 1975 dime that you think might be valuable? Let us know in the comments below. I'd love to hear about your discoveries. Today's video is going to blow your mind. We're diving into the details of a coin that's often overlooked but could hold incredible value, the 1978 United States dime. You might be thinking, a 1978 dime? Isn't that just a regular coin? Well, not exactly. There's more to this coin than meets the eye, and it could be hiding a pretty penny in your collection. Let's start with the key features of the 1978 dime. The obverse side, or front, of the coin features the iconic portrait of Franklin D. Roosevelt, the 32nd President of the United States. Roosevelt's image has been on the dime since 1946, just after his death, as a tribute to his leadership during some of the most challenging times in American history, including the Great Depression and World War II. Surrounding his portrait are the words, "Liberty, in God we trust," and, of course, the year, 1978. Flipping the coin over, we come to the reverse side. This side features a classic design with a torch, an olive branch, and an oak branch. Together, these symbols represent freedom, peace, and strength, and they've been part of the dime's design since it was first introduced in 1946. Now, at first glance, the 1978 dime might look like any other dime, but there's something special you need to look out for. What makes the 1978 dime truly interesting is the errors and unique features that can make it significantly more valuable than its face value. The most sought-after feature is the double die error. This happens when the coin is struck twice by the die, but slightly out of alignment. The result? A blurry or doubled image, particularly in the date or in the word "Liberty." This type of error can be a game-changer for collectors, as it makes the coin look distinct from any regular dime you might find in circulation. The next thing to look for is an off-center strike. This is another error that can occur when the coin is struck off-center, causing part of the design to be cut off, leaving a coin that looks misaligned. These off-center dimes are highly sought after because of how unique they are. Imagine owning a dime that isn't perfectly round or has part of the design missing. It's not just a coin, it's a piece of numismatic history. Additionally, keep an eye out for die cracks and die clashes. These happen when the die used to stamp the design onto the coin starts to wear down or develop cracks. A die crack can leave raised lines running through the design, while a die clash occurs when two dies accidentally come together without a planchet, the metal disc the coin is made from, between them, resulting in an overlapping or partial image. While these errors are not as rare as double die errors, they still add a level of uniqueness to the coin that collectors value. So, how can you spot a valuable 1978 dime? The first step is to examine the date and the word Liberty closely. Use a magnifying glass or a jeweler's loupe to check for any signs of doubling or misalignment. If the numbers in the date appear blurry, or if the letters in Liberty look like they've been struck twice, you may have found a double die error. Next, check for an off-center strike. Look at the coin from both the front and the back. Is the design slightly shifted? Are parts of the coin's edge missing or cropped off? If so, you might have an off-center strike, which could significantly increase the value of the coin, and of course, be on the lookout for die cracks and die clashes. If you see raised lines running through the coin or any unusual overlap in the design, you might be holding a coin with one of these interesting errors. Now, let's talk about why the 1978 dime is so valuable. Most people wouldn't think twice about tossing a 1978 dime into their pocket change, but for collectors, this coin holds hidden value. The key lies in the rarity of error coins. A regular 1978 dime without any errors might only be worth 5 cents, but the errors we've discussed can make it worth much, much more. The double die error is the most valuable, with certain examples fetching thousands of dollars. Coins that show clear, noticeable doubling in the date or in the word Liberty are especially sought after by collectors, as these are rare and highly prized. Similarly, off-center strikes and die cracks are also valuable, though typically not as much as a double die error. Still, they add a level of character to the coin that many collectors are willing to pay a premium for. As for the price of a 1978 dime with errors, you could be looking at a value anywhere from $3,300 to $44,000. That's right. A dime that was once worth just 10 cents could be worth tens of thousands, depending on the error and condition of the coin. These kinds of rare coins don't come around every day, so if you're lucky enough to find one, you could be holding a valuable piece of American history. Before we wrap up, I want to ask you all, have you ever found a rare or unique coin that turned out to be more valuable than you expected? Or perhaps you found a 1978 dime with an error you weren't sure about? Drop a comment below and share your story with us. We love hearing about your discoveries. Today's video is for you. We're going to take a closer look at a coin that might seem ordinary at first glance but can hide some extraordinary value, the 1967 United States dime. You might have one of these dimes sitting in your collection or even in your pocket, but what if I told you that this particular year holds the potential for a significant find? Let's dive into what makes the 1967 dime so interesting, especially when it comes to its rare errors. The key features of the 1967 dime are straightforward, but there's a lot more than meets the eye. On the obverse, or the front, we have the familiar portrait of President Franklin D. Roosevelt, which has graced the dime since 1946. This is one of the most iconic coin designs in U.S. history. Surrounding Roosevelt's portrait are the words, "Liberty, in God we trust," and of course, the year 1967. Roosevelt's image symbolizes the post-war era and his legacy in American history, making this coin even more significant. On the reverse side, you'll find the classic design featuring a torch, an olive branch, and an oak branch, which represent freedom, peace, and strength. This design has remained unchanged since the dime was redesigned in 1946, and it gives the coin a timeless quality. Now, while these features might seem typical, it's the errors that can transform this 1967 dime into something truly valuable. One of the most important errors to look for on the 1967 dime is the double die error. This occurs when the coin is struck more than once by the die, but with a slight misalignment between the first and second strikes. The result? Some parts of the design appear doubled. The most common spots for doubling are in the date and the word Liberty. If you closely examine the 1967 dime and notice that the date or the lettering appears doubled, you may have just found a rare double die error, which is highly sought after by collectors. These types of errors add a lot of value to the coin because they are relatively uncommon and make the coin look unique compared to the regular dimes in circulation. Another type of error to be on the lookout for is an off-center strike. This occurs when the coin is struck improperly by the die, and the design is misaligned, causing part of the image to be cut off or positioned unevenly. An off-center strike makes the coin look different from the usual dime, and collectors will often pay a premium for these types of errors. The more dramatic the misalignment, the more valuable the coin can become. Aside from double die errors and off-center strikes, another important thing to check for are die cracks and die clashes. Die cracks happen when the die used to strike the coin develops cracks. These cracks can cause raised lines or spider web patterns on the coin, which some collectors find particularly appealing. Die clashes happen when two dies strike each other without a planchet in between, causing the designs from both dies to overlap. While these errors are not as valuable as double die or off-center strikes, they can still contribute to the rarity and appeal of a coin, making it more collectible. So, how do you spot a valuable 1967 dime? First, take a good look at the date and the word Liberty on the obverse side. Use a magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe to check for any doubling or blurring in these areas. If you see any clear signs of doubling, then you may have found a double die error. Next, flip the coin over and examine the reverse for any signs of misalignment or misstriking. If the design looks off-center or if the edge of the coin is missing part of the design, you could be holding an off-center strike. Finally, check for any die cracks or die clashes on either side of the coin. These imperfections can make the coin more unique and valuable. Now, why is the 1967 dime so valuable? Most 1967 dimes are worth only face value, just 10 cents. However, the rare errors we've discussed can cause the value of these coins to skyrocket. Coins with double die errors, especially those where the doubling is clearly visible, are highly coveted by collectors. Likewise, off-center strikes, die cracks, and die clashes all add to the coin's uniqueness, making it much more valuable than a standard dime. In fact, depending on the severity of the error and the condition of the coin, a 1967 dime with a double die error, off-center strike, or another rare feature could be worth anywhere from $3,400 to $49,000. That's right. A coin that originally was worth just 10 cents could end up being worth thousands, a huge potential payoff for a coin that might be sitting in your collection or even your spare change jar. Before we wrap up, I'd love to hear from you. Have you ever found a coin with an error that turned out to be worth a lot more than you expected? Or maybe you've come across a 1967 dime that you think might have some hidden value? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear your experiences. Today's video. We're diving into a coin that might seem ordinary at first glance but could potentially hold serious value in your collection. That's right, we're talking about the 1991 United States dime. This coin may not get as much attention as some other rare dimes, but with the right errors, it could be worth way more than its face value. Stick with me, and let's uncover what makes this coin so special and what you should be looking for to determine its value. Let's begin with the key features of the 1991 dime. On the obverse, or the front, you'll find the well-known image of President Franklin D. Roosevelt, who has been featured on the dime since 1946. This image was chosen to honor Roosevelt for his leadership during the Great Depression and World War II. Surrounding Roosevelt's image are the words, "Liberty, in God we trust," and the year 1991. It's a classic design that you're probably familiar with if you've collected dimes over the years. Now, let's take a look at the reverse side of the coin. Here, you'll see the symbolic design featuring a torch, an olive branch, and an oak branch, all representing the values of liberty, peace, and strength. These elements are carefully arranged to reflect the ideals of the United States, and this design has remained unchanged on the dime since it was first introduced in 1946. It's these familiar features that make the 1991 dime seem like just another standard dime, but as any experienced collector knows, there can be something much more valuable hidden beneath the surface. So, what are the errors that can make a 1991 dime stand out from the crowd and give it value far beyond its original 10-cent face value? Well, there are a few different things you should be on the lookout for. First and foremost is the double die error. This is one of the most sought-after errors in coin collecting. A double die error occurs when a coin is struck more than once by the die, but slightly out of alignment. This can cause parts of the design to appear doubled, especially in the date and the word Liberty. If you closely examine the coin with a magnifying glass or a jeweler's loupe, look for any signs of doubling in these areas. A clearly doubled date or the word Liberty can be a sign that you found a rare double die error, which increases the value of the coin dramatically. Another error to look for is an off-center strike. This happens when the coin is not struck perfectly centered on the metal planchet, causing part of the coin's design to be cut off or misaligned. Off-center strikes are especially valuable because they are a unique anomaly, making each off-center coin different from the next. A 1991 dime with an off-center strike can be worth significantly more, especially if the misalignment is dramatic. Next up, you should also keep an eye out for die cracks. Die cracks occur when the die used to strike the coin develops small fractures, creating raised lines or cracks on the surface of the coin. These cracks often show up along the edge of the coin or across certain parts of the design. While die cracks are more common than other errors, they still add a level of uniqueness to the coin, and collectors find them appealing because they make the coin stand out from the regular production issues. In addition to die cracks, there's also the possibility of a die clash. A die clash happens when two dies strike each other without a planchet, the metal blank, in between them. This results in an overlapping or partial image being struck on the coin, which can make the coin look quite unusual. If you find a 1991 dime with a die clash, it's definitely worth noting, as these types of errors are considered rare and can increase the coin's value. Now, you're probably wondering, how do you spot these valuable errors on a 1991 dime? The first step is to carefully examine the date and Liberty on the front of the coin. If the numbers in the date look blurry or there's an obvious second impression of the word Liberty, you may have a double die error. Use a magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe to help you catch these subtle details. Next, flip the coin over and inspect the reverse side for any signs of misalignment. If part of the design is cut off or if the coin's edge is noticeably off-center, it could be a sign of an off-center strike. Be sure to check both sides of the coin for any raised lines or cracks as well, as these could indicate a die crack, and don't forget about the die clash. If you notice any unusual overlapping designs or partial images, it could be a die clash error. So, why is the 1991 dime so valuable? Well, as with most error coins, the rarity and uniqueness are key. The 1991 dime, while not a particularly rare year in itself, can become highly valuable when these error traits are present. Double die errors, off-center strikes, die cracks, and die clashes all add to the rarity of the coin and make it much more desirable to collectors. In fact, depending on the severity and visibility of the error, a 1991 dime could be worth anywhere from $3,200 to $44,000. That's right. A coin worth just 10 cents could potentially fetch thousands of dollars, depending on the rarity of the error and the condition of the coin. Before we wrap up, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Have you ever stumbled across a 1991 dime that you think might have an error? Or maybe you found other coins with hidden values? Let me know in the comments below. I'm always excited to hear about your coin hunting adventures. Thanks so much for tuning in today. If you enjoyed this video or found it helpful, be sure to hit that like button, share it with your fellow collectors, and subscribe to the channel for more coin tips, tricks, and valuable finds. Don't forget to click the notification bell so you'll be the first to know when we post new content. Keep hunting for those rare coins, and who knows, your next treasure could be just around the corner.